Hello beer tubers and welcome to yet another Barley Wember themed beer review with me, Peter, the master of hoppets, with loads of barley wine in front of me. Swedish barley wine again, but this time from Nynäshamns. And variants on their Bötet Barley wine and a vintage Bötet Barley wine. So you guys, if you follow my channel for a long time, you probably know that I get loads of beer from my good friend Johan in Gothenburg in Sweden. He always sends me care packages with amazing Swedish craft beers, and he's the person who's introduced me to loads of Swedish beer breweries and a lot of classics and icons. And one of the huge icons in Sweden is Nynäshamns. They are very famous. They make great lagers, but they make very nice classical beer styles as well. And one of their more famous beers is their Bötet Barley wine that they've done in numerous different barrel versions. They come in these tiny, I think it's 25 centiliter bottles, which is a perfect size format for this kind of beer, I think. Especially if you're drinking it on your own. And they've done many different variants of this over the years in different types of barrels. And Jonas sent the regular one, he sent the bourbon, he sent the Jamaican rum cask. But recently, it's a little while back, but he sent the cognac and brandy version along with a regular version as well, which he actually didn't know. He said he thought it was another version, but it's like he didn't even know why he put it in there. But I actually really like that because now I can get to try, albeit an aged version, but just try it up against the barrel aged version to see how the base is. So Bötet Barley wine is a 10% barley wine, and then or 9.1% in this iteration, and then I think it's 10% at least 12%. Wow, okay, it swings around a lot, but 10 for the brandy, 12 for the cognac version, which are the other two versions we're checking out. So, yeah, classic Swedish beer that's often fantastic. So this here is 9.1%, as I said, and this is a barley wine that is made with 3 different types of caramel malts, and after that they age it for 7 months in steel tanks just to mellow it out, which is amazing. Like, that is dedication. Like, that you actually sit and let a beer lager for that long. It's made with honey and cane sugar as well to give some complexity. Yeah, I think it'll be really fun to try a vintage bottle here. This is almost 10 years now, which is crazy to think. Like, we're almost in 2022. So, it's an old bottle. It's probably something like brewed in 2012, I'd imagine, and then aged for the 7 months in tank and whatnot. Like, but I know Johan has loads of old Bötet barley wine in his cellar. So, first thing I noticed with the 2012 here is that oxidation has set in. Because if you compare it to the newer vintages, it's a whole lot more dark. It's more of, the other ones are like really nice, light caramelized kind of, it looks like the top of a creme brulee or something like that, like really nice, lightly caramelized color, very clear, where this one is like got like a burgundy or reddish hue to it, just a little bit. So yeah, it's probably going to be slightly oxidized, but in barley wines, you know, that's a style that can often handle a little bit of oxidation. So yeah, let's check this one out. Oh yeah, it's definitely oxidized. It smells like port, it smells like sherry, it's got a like almost mead-like honey vibe. Oh man, it really reminds me of, for some reason, of Prize Old Ale. When Prize Old Ale isn't too old and too over the hill, like, it smells similar to something like that. Like, you can't get Prize Old Ale anymore that's over the hill. Any old bottle, pretty much, of Prize Old Ale, maybe besides, and I'm talking about the Gales beer, the classic brewery. It's old ale, but a classic brewery that, you know, Fuller's bought up. I think if you were lucky enough to get the recent like barrel aged versions that they did with Manchester Marble Fullers, they're probably still going to be drinking great. But if you have some of the old vintages that you can find around, most of those are way over the hill. Like the 06 vintages and 05 and whatnot, like with the cork still in, those are just not that great anymore. But this smells nice. It smells more like that, like oxidized sherry port wine kind of thing. Loads of dark fruit, but also some caramel and some toffee. For some reason, I'm getting a hint of coffee, but also a hint of soy sauce. And I think sometimes you can get something similar to that with oxidation. But yeah, it smells pretty good. Let's give it a taste, guys. Cheers, and thanks to Johan for the beers. Wow, it really reminds me of drinking Prize Old Ale. Because it's like, it's a bit more, It's not like rich and decadent as like a lot of American interpretations of English barley wine, or just even a lot of newer Swedish ones. Like the last ones, like I had the copper barrel aged one and the from Mohawk and the poppers ones. They were much more rich and decadent and sweet. But I think it's also a bit because of age. This one is like really dark fruity, and really stewed, like dark raisin figgy kind of vibes, like drenched in port, fruit cake, stuff like that. It almost tastes lightly woody as well because of oxidation. Drying, slightly bitter finish on there. There is definitely like a little bit of a hop character to it. Still, interestingly, a little bit of bitterness, almost like a nettly classic hop kind of vibe, like English hop. But very light body, very light body. Not too much carbonation. You could also see when you poured it out, this one had a whole lot less of a head, but I think it's also due to age. I think it's aged very well. Like, it's not like, whoa, mind-blowing, but it's crazy drinkable beer for almost 10%. But yeah, Swedish classic. So let's try and switch around here. It's actually much more dry than I expected and really remember. So I think instead of starting with the cognac, we're going to be starting with the brandy, just because it's lighter in ABV. So 10% brandy barrel Bötet Barley wine. This is in Spanish brandy barrels, and it says that it should give it flavors of, let's see, a vinous taste with notes of apricot and dried fruit. So that'll be interesting. Let's check this one out. Again, it's lighter in color. It's more clear as well. It's also more clear than the cognac. So maybe this is the newest version, because haze often is also something you'll see more of sometimes with oxidation and age. But yeah, it has more of a brown, tan looking head too as well. But a really nice kind of copper, burnt copper, rust orange, like on the darker side of rust orange color. It's just like, I love that really dark copper hue. It looks really nice. Let's check out the aroma. Oh yeah, really fruity. That's interesting. Like brandy, I often associate with a bit, definitely that like vineyards kind of grape quality, and that's definitely in here. But it's like surprising. I'm almost like getting orange, like orange marmalade vibes, which I did not expect. And I totally see the kind of apricot and dried apricot kind of vibes to it as well. Hint of drying oak. Yeah, it smells nice. But again, it smells really old school and really classic. It's not like this huge in-your-face kind of barrel-aged beer. Let's give it a taste, guys. Cheers. It's just such a well-balanced and drinkable beer. It's crazy. Like, it's not extreme. It's just really well-crafted beer. It's not something where I'm like, whoa, yes, like, but it's just really pleasant to drink and really enjoyable. Really vinous, dry. It also has a bit of like a port sherry type thing. Nowhere near as much as the 12, but the regular Brewed. But it has like that oxidized, dried like sherry vibe, just a touch of it, and I think it's just like amplified as well because of the type of barrel being used. But huge like apricot-y and orangey, dry apricot-y fruit flavor, which is very interesting. It's usually not something I associate with brandy, but I think it might really depend on what kind of brandy you're drinking. Yeah, the honey is less apparent, but it is there. There's a huge, dry, tannic, vinous kind of structure to it as well, like really drying, tannic woodiness. Woodiness, there's peppery vibes, white pepper or something, but insanely drinkable beer. It's quite nice. Again, it's not blowing my mind like crazy, but this is what I expected from Nynäshamns, just like well-made classic beer. So let's jump over to the final one, the cognac. So they say themselves that this one was, of course, aged in cognac barrels that will give it a spicy grape and oaky cognac flavor profile and a long warming aftertaste. So this is probably going to be drier than, we'll see, 12%. So similar color to the other one, as I said, the brandy, just with a little more haze to it maybe, but they look very, very similar. It's got the same kind of slightly tan looking beige head on there. Let's check out the aroma on the cognac. Oh yeah, that smells a bit more it smells much more rounded, and like this has like a really dry, sharp kind of thing, whereas this is more rounded and balanced. Like even though this is also quite balanced, this is just has even more round and softness to it. That's also one thing, like when you get back into classic beer, really start to appreciate roundness and softness and soft, balanced complexity. There's a lot of complexity in these beers, but they're soft. They're not like smacking you in the face, but they're there. And you really start to appreciate that when you get into more classic beer again, even though, you know, all the crazy stuff is still awesome. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, much sweeter. Sweet, dry, grape quality. Grape skins in there as well. It's more caramelly, it's more fudgy. It's more what I associate with a modern barrel aged beer, and it might be my favorite of the bunch, I will say. Yeah, spicy, slightly warming. It's not boozy, but it has a spicy kind of spirit touch to it, like a spicy spirit warmth. It's not like even warming going down either, but really nice kind of like almost like it's like like seeds of like some kind of, I don't know, grape seeds maybe, it could be, but there's like a seedy thing to it as well. And then there's like loads of drying but fairly charred oak. There's a good amount of like almost like charry oaky flavor, but also a little touch of like that, like what you get from like fresh French oak, or just like depending on the toast level of French oak. But French oak compared to American oak, often like American oak you get all that like crazy vanilla fudge and all that. But French oak you often get loads of pepper, and I'm totally seeing that in beers like this, because often cognac and brandies that are European are made in French oak or aged in French oak. And French oak gives a way different flavor profile. It's more spicy, it's more dry and whatnot than American oak. And then also the spirit that's in there is making everything different as well. But it's a totally different flavor profile than what you expect from beers that's been in like bourbon barrels. But it works really well, and there is definitely some sweetness and a little bit of a hint of vanilla to this one as well, with that like nice cognac flavor. Just like there's definitely a big cognac flavor to this. 89 straight 90. I think 89. Like it's just like it's nice, but these are just much better in my mind. So 89. Let's see with the brandy. 91. Yeah, it's definitely more than a 90. I like a 92 for the cognac. Like I still think the poppers I think was better in terms of what it is, just in terms of, you know, it's just my preference more so, like these more sweet, fruit, fudgy, caramelly barley wines. But these are still great barley wines. They're great barrel aged barley wines. It's a great aged barley wine. It's a fun little way to, you know, just like see how beer does with age, and just see how it does with age in barrels, even though, you know, it's not been aged for nearly as long in barrels. But I definitely think these would be more similar to this if they were aged for a very long time in the bottles as well, but just with the spirit character. But yeah, that was really fun. That was some awesome classic Swedish beers. So yeah, if you guys had a chance to try either of these Bötet Barley wines, let me know what you thought of them. I think it's a must to try if you want to try some classic Swedish beer. Bötet is one of them. You know, there's quite a few like them. All countries have classics in beer that you need to try, and I think Nynäshamns is one. Like Nynäshamns and Närke of classic breweries in Sweden are like really must tries. And to some extent, Carnegie Porter, but Carnegie Porter isn't that great nowadays anymore. But there's loads of awesome classic beers that you guys should also check out. Not, you know, only crazy modern stuff, even though that is also really nice. But yeah, so if you have had either of these, let me know what you thought of them. Thanks a ton to Johan for the beers. And as always, remember to comment, subscribe, check the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and ring the bell for future notifications about beer videos. And I'm going to say cheers and see you guys in another one of those. Or skål, as we say in Denmark and Sweden. Skål in Danish. Cheers.